Okay, it's Radio City Talk. My name is Mick Coyle. We're going to mark today being Mandela Day, Nelson Mandela Day, and right across the whole country, indeed around the world, people will remember the great man. And actually, none more so than people here in Liverpool. The Mandela8 organisation was set up a number of years ago to celebrate the legacy, if you like, of Nelson Mandela. Stephen Enzi is from the organisation, and he joins us in the studio. Stephen, great to see you. How are you?
I'm great, yeah.
In terms of inspirational historical figures, he's become a historical figure now, hasn't he, Nelson Mandela? The story's such an incredible one that it's very easy to sort of almost just sit back and enjoy it as a tale before you even think about just how sort of provocative a character he was, how divisive a character for some he was. He was seen as a threat, wasn't he, to and a danger and a terrorist by some as well. And now people associate Nelson Mandela with incredible greatness, don't they?
Yeah, I think the perceptions back in, when I was growing up as a young person through the 70s was that was the vision that was given to people that, this individual is a terrorist. And I suppose that, like, anyone who's fighting for something can be perceived in that way. I mean, now you see that he's revered all around the world. Being given the freedom of many cities around the world, monuments built after him, and that goes down to really and truly that whether there was a perception when people got to understand what was really going on, and not really in today's terms fake news, that they understood what the man was all about and what he was actually fighting for, which is social justice and freedom for the people of South Africa and the dismantling of apartheid. So I think his legacy, considering of the media stuff that was going on back then, his legacy now of what we can see is something to behold. I mean, like I say, universally, Mandela Day is now celebrated around the world, the 18th of July, and people all around the world will remember Nelson Mandela on that day. So regardless of what they were saying at one time, it just shows you what ended up when the truth came out.
What is it about the Mandela story which resonates within the communities of Liverpool, do you think?
I think it resonates that Liverpool was one of the main cities within the UK, actually, that got right behind the anti-apartheid movement. And that was through the unions, because the unions, even within South Africa, were the backbone of, the workers of the ANC party, which was the party that was fighting apartheid at the time now, which is the party that now is actually empowering South Africa. And the unions, especially within Liverpool, because of the way Liverpool was set up again, and also Liverpool being a city of, fighting for rights and stuff like that. But definitely the unions got heavily involved. And at the time there was a boycott on South African goods. Remember, Liverpool at the time was one of the greatest ports in the world. Everything came in here, and especially from South Africa. And it was the dockers who decided that they would boycott all South African goods. So at the time, Liverpool was taking, one of the biggest leads in it. And also through social struggles that Liverpool was facing, one within the black community and one within the city itself through the 70s and going into the 80s. I think a lot of the things that were happening in South Africa and a lot of the struggles were resonating with people in Liverpool. That's all I could say on that. And like I say, the dockers, the unions, workers, day-to-day people got involved in the anti-apartheid movement. There was a big anti-apartheid movement within Liverpool that was established. I remember as a child myself, only as a young person, I think I was about 16 years old, going on a major march in London, and that was the big ANC march, and that was, for me, the eye-opener for me, really. Even though I was aware of a few little things, going on that march, that again was organised by the people of Liverpool, including the unions. It just showed you really and truly of the links between Liverpool and South Africa. And as you may be aware, that Nelson Mandela himself was given the freedom as the free man of Liverpool, free man of the city. Again, that shows you again the links between Nelson Mandela, the anti-apartheid struggling movement, and Liverpool in general.
You guys are busy with this My 67 Minutes program. You tell us about that, but just Mandela8. Just tell us about that sort of space you're looking to create.
Yeah, well, Mandela8 came about after the passing of Nelson Mandela, and a group of us just came up with a couple of ideas, basically, just ideas that we were floating about, and it was basically, in a nutshell, to get a memorial or something of significance that would remember Nelson Mandela, but not just to remember Nelson Mandela, but for what he stood for and what he was about. And since then, over these amount of years now, we are formulated as a board. We have charitable status. We have a wonderful set of board members, a great group of steering group members. You know, our plan has always been to get a memorial set up in Princes Park, which is now come to fruition. We've gone through all the processes, as you do. I could go on and on and on, but if you
all the fun stuff,
all the fun stuff, which is years of it, and like I said, it's been, you know, a lot of people putting in their time to make this happen, and which will totally transform Princes Park in a sense of, one, it will create a bridge across the lake. The lake has just been refurbed and is looking wonderful. The City Council have been working on, and then there's a memorial piece that will go on the island. But more than that, it's not just about that. It's about the educational programme that's going to come with that, and that's an educational programme that just won't happen then. It'll continue as far as we're concerned. The monument is here forever. It's something that's going to be permanent within the city, and we believe our educational programme that's going to run alongside it is also going to be permanent, and that's the bigger picture to us, because the bigger picture is all great having a memorial, and it's something that they're set in stone, and you can go and visit it and you can understand it, and young people can utilise it and the way it's been designed. But it is about the educational programme that goes with it.
How does it work, that education programme? Because Mandela's a very complex figure in terms of the people who he surrounds himself with and who come around him, and then you've got, of course, people like F.W. de Klerk and their sort of changing attitudes. You've got the international pressures that were coming on board as well. Pressures that were coming from cities like Liverpool and Glasgow being another example of this one as well. There was the boycotts as well to South Africa, which music was a big part of as well. But at the same time, the ANC and South Africa in 2019, the legacy of Mandela, sometimes people say, although he was an incredible inspirational figure, he didn't solve all of South Africa's problems as well. The education's an important thing around him, because you can, if you want to, you can paint him as almost like a Christ-like figure coming back from the dead, if you like.
And he wouldn't have wanted that. No, definitely not.
But it is much more complicated.
Yeah, it is, I think, because the whole thing about the struggle of South Africa is it's very complicated. You know, you can track this right back to colonialism. So wherever we want to go with it, you know what I mean, it's complicated. Our educational programme isn't so much set on that. Our education programme is set about what he stood for. Now, you know, about like social justice, do you know what I mean? About the freedoms of the people, about, you know, people being integrated, about, you know, conquering racism, you know what I mean? You know, when we look at our educational programme, we're taking those bits of what Nelson Mandela was putting out there. Remember, you know, he campaigned for 67 years of his life. People remember him going to jail, but he was a campaigner for 67 years. This is where the number 67 comes from, and so therefore we have the 67 minutes programme of Given Time. But like we say, you know, our educational programme will be based on the strengths of what Nelson Mandela was saying, what he was doing, what he fought for, and like I say, for social justice. One of the things I will say is I don't think ever that Nelson Mandela ever thought that he would fix the ills of South Africa. Remember, Nelson Mandela is one man. He's not Jesus. He never claimed to be either. You know what I mean? As he said, he is nothing but a humble man who was put on this earth and given a task to do. And what a task. At the end of the day, no one knows what your life is going to be when you're born. He didn't know he was going to spend all those years in jail. He didn't realise that his movement would then one day break the back of apartheid in South Africa. And he did not realise that one day he'd become president of South Africa. And at this present time, we have now a party, which is the ANC. And we do know and understand that there still is struggles within South Africa. But you show me any system around the world that claims to be a great system that hasn't got problems. We've got enough problems here in this country with our own system. But you understand, we will take the best bits of what Mandela was saying. And not just Nelson Mandela. There's other leaders and great leaders that we see around the world that are fought on the same kind of way for social justice and for values of the people. So, you know, our educational programme, which we were told by Nelson Mandela's daughter, Maki, that, you know, it's celebrating her father, but also celebrating other great leaders, unspoken leaders, unspoken heroes, I would say, even that have, you know, that fight every day. You know, we've got people even in this country that are fighting every day for the benefits and for the rights and for the strength of people. So again, this is, you know, our educational programme is about that, but using Nelson Mandela as the highlight for it, but making young people understand that they can become just the same. They can become great people, great leaders within their own communities. and within their own schools to start with.
We've got Stephen Enzi with us in the studio for Mandela8. Tell us about the 67 minutes then. So 67 years of campaigning. We're not asking people to do that.
No.
But if you can set aside 67 minutes, you can make a big difference in just over an hour, can't you?
You can. This whole programme was set up by Nelson Mandela himself, do you know what I mean? And what he basically said was, if you could give 67 minutes of your time to do something than for yourself. So, for someone else, whether that within the voluntary sector, with your next door neighbour, it doesn't matter what it is, you can come up with your own idea yourself. Again, we on our website, if you go to our website, we've came up with 67 ideas across different sections of spheres of things that people already do in general. But it is about giving 67 minutes and having a think about why you're doing that as well. And not even just to do it one day, but maybe that would be something that actually leads you into saying, you know what, each week I'll do a little bit of voluntary work. It's about really looking at your own community and looking at things that you can do. If there's someone down the road that you see needs a bit of shopping, then you know what, today give them 67 minutes and go and do the shopping. If someone needs the gardening doing, go and help them do it. I'm just using them as examples. I'm saying that anyone, we've got young people and children who worked on this programme originally last year when we rolled it out for the first time. And, they came up with loads of ideas, do you know what I mean? Litter picking, cleaning up the community. They're just little things. Like I say, this is about, we don't want to say what it is you've got to do, but what Nelson Mandela basically was saying was, look, give 67 minutes of your time, separate yourself from you and give that 67 minutes to someone else, or individually, or to a community, to a school, to an old pensioners group, even if it's to a dog's home or the RSPCA. What he's saying is, you choose what that 67 minutes is, because at the end of the day, if you give 67 minutes of your time to anything, that has got to be a good thing.
I think I'm right to say more than 55,000 young people were sort of reached by this programme last year.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to achieve with this year?
Well, what we done was last year, again, we were working with Liverpool Adult Learning Services, and we kind of just run this last year very quickly, and also working with targeted services and youth services, and the plan was to get the Long Walk to Freedom book into as many schools as possible, and we done that through the way we set out the programme. Those schools went into primarily primary and secondary schools, and also there was a load of little projects that were run by youth services, so there was a lot of youth clubs around the city that got involved as well last year. This year it's become massive. It really has. I mean, if you go onto the website, you'll see our endorsements. Joe Anderson's endorsed it. Regional mayors endorsed it. Trade unions have endorsed it. Nelson Mandela's daughter, Mackie, even Jermaine Jackson from America has been involved, and he's endorsed it. And I think what's happened really now, it has blew up in the sense of, this isn't just about what we do at Mandela8 are doing with the 67 in Liverpool. It's now become regional. And so this year, the books especially, are going into a lot more schools. They're going regionally. So our plan is to make sure that every primary school across the whole city and region has access to one of these books. The books are limited edition, by the way. It's very hard to get hold of these books, and we struggle to get hold of them because they're now out of print. But we know that this book is a vital book. It's set out in a comic strip. So when you read the book, it's called A Long Walk to Freedom. There's an adult version, but this book is designed for young people. I mean, even when I pick it up and look at it, I can't help but read it. The graphics and the designs in it are amazing. But it gives you the story about Nelson Mandela from when he was born to right up to his presidency. We want that book in all schools. And a lot of schools are also signed up to a thing that we created last year, which was a school's pledge. Now, the pledge is basically about the monument and Prince's Park, and basically, utilising that space because it is an educational space, and also taking care of the park as well, and, having some respect, manners in your community. The pledge is great because each young person within the school signs up to that pledge. If the school sign up to that pledge, then they can receive a book, and all the other teaching aids. Like I said already, you can go straight onto the website. You can then straight away, when you go on the website, you'll see all the teaching aids. We've got assembly packs on there. We've got all the documentation about the history of Mandela8, stuff about Nelson Mandela himself, all our stuff with the visits that we've done, the visits to South Africa last year. The Mandelas came over this year to see us in Liverpool. Big reception from the city as well. all the information about the bridge, the design, the monument, everything is on there on the website. So I really would want everyone to get to the website.
Tell us where the website is.
It's it's Mandela8.com. So if people can just get onto that website, and we've got a Twitter, which is Mandela800. And also if you go to our Facebook page, which is just Mandela8, again, all that information is on there. You can send us messages if you need to through those mediums as well. But yeah, again, this Thursday it's going to be a heavy program. We're out all day visiting youth groups, schools. A lot of schools are doing schools assemblies, which is going to be great. And youth groups are doing a lot of projects. We know some of the projects that they're doing already, and we can't wait to go out and visit them and see them. We know that the city, and we're really so happy really that the city itself, as in the council, have backed this programme from the very first day that I remember going into the town hall. And I'm to do a speech in there about what we wanted to do. And at that time, Mandela8 wasn't even Mandela8. It was just an idea. And we got told, yeah, we'll back that. And, to this point in time, I'd have to give credit where it's due. The city have backed Mandela8. And, at the end of the day, we don't own the park. Do you know what I mean? And they're allowing this whole project to go into that park. Already the lake has been refurbished in the park. I think that was 180,000 that the city invested. When you look at the lake now, you can clearly see, when you look at it and think amazing, do you know what I mean? So it's going to bring new life anyway to that park and to our whole area. So like I said, go to our website and please go there straight away as you listen to this interview, because even though it's Mandela Day today, this program lasts every day. Every day is Mandela Day, and even though 67 is the program that we are running today and does run every 18th of July, Mandela 67 can be run any day and every time, because basically what it's about is, like it says, 67 minutes of your time. To be quite honest with you, even if tomorrow you decide you're going to give half an hour of your time to your next door neighbour, giving time to people is just giving time. That's what it's about.
Stephen, apart from that, you're really quiet. Absolutely chock-a-block. Brilliant to hear so much is going on as well. Great to hear that every primary school in the Liverpool, city region will get a copy of that book as well. Really is quite something. Mandela8.com is the website there. Also up and about on social media, Twitter and Facebook. Stephen Enzi, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you.